All right, everyone. Hello. My name is Joanna Ramirez, and I am a program assistant at the Health Education Council. The Health Education Council is a nonprofit based in West Sacramento, serving the greater Sacramento region. Our mission is to cultivate health and well-being in underserved communities by leveraging the power of collaboration. The Health Education Council team welcomes you to our first annual Sacramento School Wellness Summit. So thank you for joining us for our pre-recorded session on bringing mindfulness into the classroom. So now I would like to introduce our speakers. First, we have Kristen Monk, who is a nursing instructor from Sacramento State. She's not able to join us for this live Q&A, but she is available through email if you need to reach her. And I believe her info is below on the session. So leading this Q&A, we will have Greg Ortiz from Valley High School, who was our other presenter. So Greg, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Greg Ortiz. I've been at Valley High School for the last 25 years, doing what guidance counselors do and all the myriad of chores that are given to us to take care of. And a few years ago, we got a new principal who luckily came out of counseling, and he and I were talking about all the other mental health issues that our students endure. And you got to understand, I come from a high school that's 100% free or reduced lunch. So a lot of poverty and a lot of stressors in their lives, and we believe that stands in the way of their academic performance. So he created a wellness counselor position for me, and we've been doing all kinds of other things to help students be able to achieve more in their lives and hopefully be happier. It's not all about reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's about living a happy and healthful life into old age. So that's what we want for our students. And so I took on the task, and it's been a lot of fun so far. And he's given me a lot of leeway to do what I think is the appropriate thing for students.
Okay, so to start, maybe if you wanted to share a little bit more about your background in school counseling.
Well, I came to school counseling kind of late. I was in the real estate business for almost 20 years. But I had this credential, this which you can't even get anymore. I have a lifetime credential, which I got back in the 70s. And I was working so many hours in my real estate business. My wife said, "Why don't you break up your week once in a while and go use that credential and be a substitute teacher?" And I thought that's a great idea because I was working 90 hours a week. So I started substitute teaching, and it just so happened that the school that I was doing a lot of teaching at, one of the counselors was building a house in the summertime, and the day before school started, he fell off the roof and broke his hip. So the it really just accidentally, the principal calls me up and says, "Greg, can you do 9 weeks in counseling?" I said, "Sure." So I went in there and really fell in love with the job. I saw that the power of it and how it's a unique position to be able to touch not only an individual student, but a groups of students in a meaningful way outside of the normal classroom of teaching them the skills they need to get to college and get into their profession. And so I liked it so much that I went back to night school and got my PPS credential. And it just so happened that one of my professors in night school was a counselor at Valley High School. And he said, "We have a woman going out for a semester for back surgery. Would you like to sub for her for the semester?" And I said, "Sure." So I did in 1995, spring of 95, and I've been there ever since. It's a wonderful place full of wonderful kids.
All right, thank you for sharing. Okay, so first question, what is a way we can make a substantial difference or work towards improving or incorporating mindfulness in the classroom?
Well, what I thought a very effective way, I tried to do it myself at the beginning. I was going into the classrooms and doing mindfulness lessons with kids and doing a pre-test and post-test and all the other stuff. But because I was still doing all the other counseling duties, I just kind of ran out of capacity. I could only service so many teachers that really wanted it in their classroom. And so what I thought was, well, two things. We have what's called a health tech academy on our campus. And talking to that coordinator, he said, some of my kids don't want to be doctors. They would like to be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and maybe they might be interested in helping you with this project. So I recruited out of the health tech academy and I ended up with about 10 or 11 kids. And then I thought, we have all these juniors and seniors who have finished all the classes they need to graduate and aren't really necessarily interested in pushing towards four-year colleges. So they want to be TAs. So they want to sit in a classroom and play Angry Birds for 90 minutes and have no responsibilities. Well, I took all those kids that signed up to be TAs and talked to them in groups and told them, this is what I'd like to do. And would you like to be a part of something brand new? And I ended up the first semester recruiting about 35 students, I think, 10 or 11 from the health tech, and the rest were going to be TAs. Well, I did all the research and created all the lessons, and then went out and recruited teachers that wanted it in the classroom. And I had about 30 sections in the first semester. Well, it was so well received by the teachers that every single teacher that had it in their classroom wanted it the second semester. They wanted to add extra sections, and new teachers came on. So in the second semester, I had 76 sections from 35 to 76 in one 3-month period. So it's being really well received. And the survey that I put out to teachers was that not only did they love it for their students, but they loved it for themselves. That this 3 to 5 minutes at the beginning of their period would save them so much time because the kids were really tuned in. Their anxiety was gone. They were relaxed and they were ready to take on some other abstract concepts. Without it, our kids are always living in their their reptilian brain, fight or flight. And so they, in living in our neighborhood and the kind of things that they have at home, they never had really opportunity to spend much time growing their hippocampus, which is where all the executive decisions are made. So that you have to recruit your teachers. You have to go to them and say, I'm going to do this. And you don't have to do anything except let the kids come into your classroom and do this at the beginning of class. Some teachers requested it at the end of class. That was fine. I would just schedule on my door as a schedule of what period, what teachers want it. And then the kid comes up with a grease pencil and puts his initials next to which classes he's going to service. And so some of them would do the last 10 minutes and some would do the first 10 minutes of class. And I was hoping to expand again this year because I would like to see every classroom get it every period. And some kids get it 4 times a day and the kids really like it. It takes away their anxiety, their anger, it focuses them. Um, and so I would suggest, of course, you have to have your administration on board, but it's an easy sell. And the teachers, I just went to a staff meeting and said, this is what I want to do. Here's the research that shows that it works and let's give it a shot. If you hate it, we'll stop coming. If you love it, then we'll come to the rest of your sections. And I've never had a teacher say, nah, not me, I won't do it. There was one teacher who said, I never know during the period which is the best time to do it. So he asked me to provide him with a binder full of mindful exercises and he would do them. That's fine with me. As long as the kids are getting it, I'm cool. So it can be flexible, and I'm sure there'll be many, many changes. One of the parts of the survey when I gave it to the teachers was in the last questions, what did we do well? What could be improved? And what would you like to see happen? And so they have some feedback and suggestions. Yeah, some of the lessons were terrible and or a style lesson. I heard that because it was confusing to the kids and I stopped doing those. So it's going to be forever in being developed, and I'm okay with that. Change is good as far as I'm concerned.
It's great that they were so open to trying it.
Well, one thing I really love about working with our staff, and because I've been there 25 years, I don't have a lot of experience with other people's staffs, but the staff at Valley High School is very empathetic and compassionate towards the kids that they teach. And so they were looking for anything they could get their hands on that might improve their ability to learn. And so it was a pretty easy sell. And then once they started doing it with the kids, they got the benefit of it as well. At the beginning there were some people saying, well, gosh, you know those teachers who say, I'm not giving up any teachable minutes to that. There's no proof that it works. Well, I can give you thousands of studies that have been done at this point that show that it does work. And the teachers that use it, I use their testimonials to show that actually they got more done in the same time because the students were focused. There wasn't any tension in the room. Nobody was throwing chairs or yelling across the room. I mean, they were relaxed, focused, and ready to go. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Um, so going off on that, how do you think, or how have you tried like implementing this or expanding it to other schools, or maybe even other districts?
I haven't got the invite yet. Well, I did. I actually got an invite this last week from a person in Arcadia who saw me on another broadcast and said, "Gosh, I'd love to start something like this at my school." And I already have admin approval. So I would need to pick your brain about the particulars of how you recruit the kids and how you recruit the teachers and all that kind of stuff. So I have heard from other people. Now, in my district, we have 9 high schools. And since I've been around so long, I know a lot of people at other schools. And not only is it widespread at my school, but it's kind of bled into 2 other high schools and one of our middle schools who have the lessons. Now, during COVID, it's been a little difficult and kind of set me back. But what I did to keep the ball rolling was created a YouTube channel called Greg Ortiz Mindfulness. And everybody that signs up or subscribes every Sunday, they get a notice that another lesson has dropped onto the channel, and they can use it with their kids at the beginning, at the end, or whenever they want to use it. And I encourage the kids to subscribe to the channel because I want them to use it with their family during this time. And there, I've had response that my family loves it. After dinner, we get together and do an exercise, and it feels good, and everybody's kind of calm and goes and does their own thing for the evening. So that's how I'm dealing with it during this particular time. I can't wait to get back because I think the kids do it much better than I do. And the kids love to receive it from other kids. When the kids go do it, of course, they practice with me, their breathing and their pacing and so forth. When I do it on my YouTube channel, I want to sound like the Dalai Lama, but I think I sound more like Rocky Marciano. But I hope that they get the gist of it, and they're they're doing the breathing and letting their mind go and being in the present moment.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question is from a parent. Have you had any success having parents practice mindfulness with their children before school starts in the morning?
Not before. I haven't had that particular thing, but I've had kids report that they do it in the evening with their parents, and certainly in the morning. It's a great idea. It's a great way to start your day. Is to get that oxygen in there and start getting your mind settled. And it's slowing down your mind, and it's letting go of the past and not worrying about the future. It's today's the most important day in the rest of your life, and so let's get ready for it. And I think it's a great idea. I wish all parents would do it with their school age students in the morning prior to them getting on the computer for however many hours they have to be on there. I think it's a great idea, and I think that that parent should go to my channel and do those with their kids in the morning. There's a million things online. I mean, there is a million breathing exercises and all kinds of things you can do that bring you to a mindful moment. I encourage anybody that's listening right now to get online and just kind of go mindfulness exercise, anything with the word mindfulness in it, and just kind of explore what's out there. Sometimes it's just music. Sometimes it's scenery with music. Sometimes it's guided meditation. I And during the time of COVID, I'm really trying to do positive affirmations, working on your gratefulness and your sense of responsibility and how fantastic you really are if only you would think about it, and lead them through this whole story. And at the end, after about 3 minutes of really deep breathing and their body feels good, hopefully they can carry that throughout the day.
Okay, our next question is from Rebecca, and it's going off of you sharing about your videos. Is your YouTube channel a resource that can be shared out more broadly?
You can go on YouTube and put Greg Ortiz mindfulness, and you can use any of those that you want. And you can use them more than once. Right now, they come out once a week. So the teachers that are using them are doing the same exercise every day. And then the next week, they do a different one. But if you have a library, then if this one really works well, I just did one called Going on Vacation. And it's about walking down a beach and going into a house. And it includes all your senses of smell and touch and hearing. And it brings you to the moment. So certainly anybody can use them, and feel free.
Okay, thank you. A question we have from April. Have your teachers expressed any interest in learning the exercises to administer themselves?
Yeah, I had that one teacher because he didn't want to be tied down to a certain time that the kids were going to come in and do it. So he thought, I'll still like to do it every day, but I might want to do it in the middle of class. Kids are getting restless. Put down your pencil, close your book, get in a comfortable position, and then they do it, and then they go through the rest of class. Some like it right at the end. After a hectic period, they like to just kind of calm all the kids down. So it doesn't matter where or when, if you can find a spot. And I've last year when I did my survey, I also surveyed the kids, and I got over 450 responses from kids about whether they liked it or not, or what we could do better. And out of all those responses, only 7 didn't like it, and 4 of them because it said it made them sleepy. Well, our kids are tremendously sleep deprived. I didn't see that as necessarily a negative thing. If you need to sleep, let's get some. And so some kids said it did nothing. Or here was the one complaint that I thought about. And when I start this, I go out to the classroom the very first time, and I tell them, you do not have to do this. It's not mandatory. You won't be graded on it. It's strictly for you. And if you don't want to do it, all I ask is that you don't steal it from the kids who want to do it. So just be quiet for a few minutes. Some put their heads down, some do a little work, and they stay quiet. And by the end of the semester, though, they're all doing it because they see the effect that it has on their friends or sitting around them, and they go ahead and do it. So it's been overwhelmingly well received. Kids are making comments like, I'm not as angry as I usually am during the day, or it really calms me down. I'm not so worried about what's going to be happening to me. All I have to do is do well today. Think comments like that, which were beautiful, and that's what it's designed for.
Yeah. So going off of that, I know you've had some positive feedback, but a question from Roxana: what are strategies you can share with other schools or teachers who lack this empathetic piece, and what is an example or approach you would take to address this?
Well, I probably want to show them the evidence from my school. Now, I know it's scanty because I only had 1 year of developing this program with kids and putting it out there, but it was overwhelmingly received. And I even went to admin and I say, I know I don't have any hard numbers and it'd be hard to get them from the amount of time we've been doing this. But in the second semester, I said, have you seen any differences around this campus? And the guy that does the discipline says we've had less fights and our suspension rate has been dropping. Now, can I contribute that solely to the efforts of the mindfulness program? I don't know, but I'll take it. Anything that would move that in that direction. So it can be offered up as a possible solution to our suspension rate and violence on campus. And kids were getting along great. And it got to the point where, I mean, there's a lot of other reasons why I go into a classroom to talk to a teacher or a kid. And now, because of this program, every time I walk in the classroom, the kids go, all right, to put down their pencils and get ready to go. And so they're kind of expecting it and they're really enjoying it. And I had one, we're on a block where kids get 4 classes in a day. And one girl ran up to me after school one day and said, "Mr. Ortiz, I got mindfulness 4 times today. It was so great." So the kids are really liking it. It seems to positively affect their mood and attitude. I say, why don't we keep going until I can really develop some hard? I know that I'm going to need 2 or 3 years of doing this consistently to really develop some hard numbers, but I intend to get them.
Thank you.
And as far as the person who asked the question, if if you feel like maybe it wouldn't be so well received from you, I'd be willing to come and talk to your staff for you. Sometimes, I mean, my wife can tell me, boy, a tree would look really good planted there. And she's told me for 10 years. And then one day the neighbor walks out and says, "Greg, a tree would look good, really good right there." And I go, "You know what? That's a great idea." Sometimes they just got to hear it from somebody that they don't know. And I have some evidence to bring them, and I could bring kids with me to show what they do, and you could ask them questions about their experience and what else they're responsible for. I mean, I train them as conflict mediators, uh, restorative circle facilitators, student ambassadors, and tutors. So when they go out and do that 10 minutes out of a 90-minute period, some days I just let them come back to the career center and work on homework, because a lot of the kids in my school, because of their economic situation, work to help support their family. So they have to go to jobs after school. And so this gives them a chance to stay alive academically, and they're contributing so many ways to their school community that a lot of leaders have emerged from this. I just don't cherry pick the kids that have 4.0s to do this. I have kids with IEPs. I have kids that are on the frequent flyer suspension list, and now they're not, because they've taken a leadership role. They're very proud of what they're going out there and doing. It's a positive thing.
Great. So our next question is from Rochelle. What do you recommend for parents who want to implement this mindfulness slash meditation in their distance learning, but are having challenges with their children, with getting their children interested in it or having their children stay interested?
That's a tough one. I imagine it's the same like I just said to you before. If I came to your house, they'd probably do it because it's a different guy saying it. They have to listen to mom all the time. But you might want to find there's some really short ones, and it depends on the age of the child. There's some very short ones on there that are animated and kind of funny, and then it's like watching a little cartoon in the morning. There are some people that are really, really deep and interesting, like this guy named Sadhguru that I listen to all the time. So that's something that mom is going to have to solve. But go have her spend some time going online and finding something that they think might appeal to their students or their particular children. That has, if their kid's really interested in race cars or horses or whatever it is, you can find stuff on there that would, or she could write something that would get them into the breathing and visualizing what it is that they're so interested in. It's like when teachers tell me I can't get this kid to read, what I do is I ask them what are they interested in, and then I bring them magazines about car racing or whatever it is. They'll read that, and then they just practice the reading. So it's trying to find how it is going to appeal to them. The kids at my school like a lot of visualization about walking down a beach or being in a forest or being in a garden. Just walking around the school, I'll write one. We have a couple of really beautiful gardens in our school, and they know where they are. And I write about smelling, this or touching this until they understand it. It just brings them to the moment. So find what they're interested in, and then if you can't find anything online, then you create it. It's wide open.
Thank you. So I know in your presentation, your slides, you mentioned ACEs. If you wanted to expand more on that and how important it is to address this topic in schools.
It's it's incredibly important. ACEs is adverse childhood experiences, and there was a study that came out in the late 90s that was a joint project between the CDC and Kaiser Permanente, where they did a survey of over 17,000, and most of these people were white and college educated, but still they found that they tested them for ACEs. So, did this ever happen to you in childhood? And there's a list of 10 questions, and they did a correlation, and they came to the fact that if you had four or more ACEs in your life, then you have a adverse physical health problems later on: diabetes, heart attacks, cancers. And that's why they were doing it. But I found that working at my school for a long time, that students would talk about a parent dying, and I would say, how old are they? And they'd say 48 or 52. And I'd go, oh my gosh, that's just so young. And basically, ACEs will cause you to die young. And so I found that that was something I wanted to bring to the kids. Of course, and there was another thing that I read that really affected it too. And it was a book by Ruby Payne called it's jumping out of my head, but it's about the kinds of poverty that are out there. And she was a longtime educator, and she talked about 7 kinds of poverty, and that first motivated me. And then I read this study by the CDC, and I went, oh my gosh, there's my kids. So I went to the district and I said, I'd really like to ACE all the ninth graders, ACE tests the ninth graders. They came in, they went, oh my God, pictures of attorneys came to their mind right away. And they would say to me, what if you trigger them? And I said, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to trigger them when they're 14 so that we can talk about how you can mitigate the effect of ACEs. And there is a formula that will help you start to mitigate the effects of these ACEs that you've experienced as a child. And they are: teach kids how to sleep. Our kids are incredibly sleep deprived, and it causes your brain not to grow, and kids can't learn when they're sleepy. So you have to get into a sleep routine, whatever that means in your family, but make sure they get enough. Kids need 8 hours of sleep. Um, Nutrition. Well, first of all, going back to the sleep thing, that's something that should be taught in your health curriculum. It's vastly important. Secondly, diet. Good food, strong body. There's no mystery. We've known this for a long time, but we don't enforce it very well. So we have to kind of start changing the way we feed our kids. The third was exercise. Get them outside in the sunshine at least 30 minutes a day. Even if it's just walking the dog, it's okay. You still need to have exercise every day. The fourth was healthy relationships. And that's all of our responsibilities, is that we deal with young people, is to model what healthy relationships are. A lot of positive uh, things that we say to them, and encouragement. And the fifth is mindful meditation. What opportunities, if we don't train kids to go inside and have a conversation with themselves every day about who they are and how they want their life to turn out and what they're willing to do to make it turn out that way, how are they ever going to get in the habit of doing it? And what was interesting is being thrust into this role of the wellness counselor. I went, okay, I'm going to be dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety and self-mutilation and suicidal ideation and violence and stuff. What are the experts, what are the therapists saying? And those 5 things seem to crop up in all of their theories about how to mitigate what the student is going through. So mindfulness was something that I could latch my wagon to, and something I could do in the school, something I could take care of. The sleep and the eating and the exercise can be covered in the school curriculum and should be covered at home. The healthy relationships should be everywhere that they go and every adult they run into. But the mindfulness, you need to be trained how to do that. Kids don't naturally sit down and go, okay, how'd I do today? Should I, what should I do to think more positively about myself, that I can do it, as opposed to, oh, I'm sunk, I can't do it. And so that was something I thought, well, maybe I can make a difference at my school with this problem. And so that's why I started. It's been 3 years in the coming to bring it to the point where I'm recruiting kids and doing it in the classroom. And I've run into some roadblocks, but I could show you how to avoid those. And basically, you need the kids to do it because then you have more people, and the kids love doing it.
Thank you. Let's see. So the next question, during your presentation, you mentioned the Mindfulness Warriors. Can you elaborate more on them and the importance of their role?
Well, those are the kids that I've recruited to do it. The Mindfulness Warriors title, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. And so they refer to themselves that way, and I refer to them that way too. I recruited them out of that Health Tech Academy, and then I went after kids that wanted to be TAs who they really didn't want to go in and grade papers and stuff like that, but they'd be willing to do that than have to take another English related class or some academic class. They were looking for the easy way out, like the rest of us. But when I presented it to them as an opportunity to do something really different, you're a pioneer, and this is what it can do for people. And wouldn't you like to be the person who helped them get on that path to a mindfulness practice? And so a lot of them came through being TAs. And then some came by word of mouth, or they got mindfulness in their classroom and they really liked it and they wanted to be one of the ones that would go out there and do it. And so I'll take as many as come, and then I go out and recruit additional sections to do it to. And it's worked out well. Every time I go to a meeting, I'm invited to a meeting, I start the meeting with a mindfulness exercise to kind of get everybody concentrating in the moment. I find that, with kids, especially right now, I'm dealing with a lot of depression and anxiety. And from all of the reading I'm doing, depression seems to be that kids are worrying about something that already happened. And anxiety, it comes from worrying about stuff that hasn't happened yet. And so I have to teach them about time. And time, the past is time that's already come and gone, nothing you can do about it. So you have to come to grips with it, forgive yourself, forgive others, and move on. And anxiety is time that's not even here yet. 99% of the things we're worried about are never going to happen. But if you concentrate on today and do your best in this day, the future will take care of itself.
That's great, thank you. So going back to the teachers, how important is the teacher's role in the success of this curriculum?
Well, it certainly is important. Of course, they have to be a willing participant. They're giving up instructional minutes to this, and some of them are very unsure whether it will be beneficial or not. I can talk about the research all you want, but until they experience it in their classroom, they're not going to really be able to know. I've never yet, and of course I only did it 1 year, but out of the 76 sections, I never had one teacher say, eh, it's not working in this class, I don't want it anymore. Not one of them have dropped out. So I take that as a success. It's continued to grow. And my goal is every